thank God Ja Morant is back. Like, look, when he first got suspended, I was like, you know what? 25 games. He showed a gun twice. Guns are not as big of a deal to me as they are to most people. I stay out of those debates. I grew up in an area where it's just like, all right, well, he got a gun, cool. Just don't use it on me. We good. But when I felt like it was a fair suspension, and then I started thinking about the fact that Jackson Hayes is playing NBA games. The Josh Giddey thing happened. He never got suspended. Then Miles Bridges came back. And then I watched the Grizzlies without Ja Morant, and it's like, you know what? We might have to rethink this gun stuff. I'm just like, we're going to get into them after that. But I'm just like, he's one of those players to where he's so good and so exciting. You almost take him for granted in a sense. And so watching that game last night, I didn't realize how much I missed watching him play.
Yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. It was like, damn, like I always loved Ja, but like when somebody like when you just don't see him for a while, it's not like you it's not that you forget. It's just like you're like, damn, like will he still have it? And he got winded at some parts in the third quarter, which is crazy considering he still finished with 34, and he was able to pull him through what I thought was a very tough game for them, specifically matchup wise, but. Just like, man, some of the things he does on the basket, the way he rises up, he switches direction, he gets downhill, like some of that, like it's truly like elite, like probably one of the only players to do it to that level of finesse / athleticism with his size and power for somebody who's as skinny as he is. Like, no, man, he's a human highlight reel. And I won't get into the gun situation. I think it's honestly, I think I've seen worse shit happen and people get suspended for less games. And not be put as in negative of a light. In no way am I pro what he did. I'm just saying in context, like he literally didn't really do anything. Is my way of looking at it. But whatever, man. It is what it is. I'm happy he's fucking back. The team, completely different team with John than without. I feel like. Yeah, man. It's just Ja's Ja, man. I'm glad he's back. Hopefully he stays away from all that shit and all the negativity because he's robbed us of 25 games of good ass basketball.
Yeah, man. Like and like I said, we're not pro gun here, but
no.
I can't. Well, I don't know what part of Hialeah you're from, but I know it get active in certain parts of Hialeah also. So I'm from Liberty City. Like it's nothing to brag about. It's nothing to be proud of, but guns are just not shocking to me at this stage of my life. And so at the end of the day, yeah, he deserved a suspension, but at the same time, like they just honored Karl Malone at All-Star break. Welcome back, John. Welcome back, John. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 7. We're already on number 7 of Playoff Foul. Before I introduce my co-host, I'm going to just remind y'all, make sure, because we're getting so much positive feedback from the show. I just want to remind y'all, make sure you subscribe wherever you want to subscribe, whether it's the podcast apps, whether it's YouTube, whatever the case is. I don't care. Just tune in. That being said, no Frankie today. He usually won't be here on the weekdays, but I do have, once again, Lou with me. Lou, how you doing?
Oh man, it's another great day, man, to talk basketball. I feel like there's no bad days when you're talking basketball, if I'm being honest. Yeah. So thankful to be here, man, and I'm ready to get. I'm excited for today's show, personally.
Yeah, man. So we opened the show with Ja Morant, but we're gonna have to get into his team, the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies right now are 7-19, but that's including the win with Ja yesterday. And watching that team before Ja got there was, I don't like being negative about teams, so I'm not bashing them in any way, but it was a very tough watch. Now, Jared Jackson Jr. was on a tear. That was a lot of fun. Desmond Bane was also on a tear. That was a lot of fun. But they need a player like Ja with them, specifically, even with Desmond Bane playing as great as he was. That rim pressure Ja Morant provides is nearly unmatched in the league, especially at the garbage. You got like SGA, and I can't name too many.
I was gonna say he's in the tier with SGA, and if you're in a tier with literally like one of the best lead guards getting to the rim, he's doing his thing, man.
Yeah, and so before I ramble on, I'm gonna get your thoughts on just Ja Morant being back with the Grizzlies and what they can do now.
I'm curious to see how far this team goes. They've been a team that's been absolutely ravaged by injuries and suspensions. So like it's unfortunate that they're basically a third into the season. Yeah. And they have no foresight of when, Marcus Smart comes back. They lost Steven for the whole year, which is a huge loss for them. I feel like that gets under talked about, I guess, but it's a team that's trying to figure things out. I do like some of their pieces. I like the way that they're fitting in together. It's just the team was missing not just Ja's rim pressure, but Ja's edge.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's not to like take shots at any of the guys, but like it's just Ja's edge is it's something you can't really teach, and he just has it. Like, part of the reason why he does what he does is because of his edge, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to be honest, but man, yeah, like it's needed his ability to like will his team to like, we are better than these people. Like I need y'all to help me, but like, shit, if y'all aren't here for a quarter or two, don't worry. I got y'all. Get yourself together. And that's basically what he did. Like the first half, it was just, he wasn't really looking for his shot. He was just kind of like filling it out. And then as soon as the halfway through like the second quarter, like the second last run of the second quarter, and then third and fourth, it was just like, yeah, I'm here. It's go time. Like we're down 15. The team needs scores, and they got him. Like he's able to. It's ridiculous because he didn't hit a single 3-pointer. He barely attempted them, and all his shots came from the same region. And that's something that sometimes is common in certain shot charts for players. Typically not for nobody who's like 6'2", 6'3". Like that's unheard of.
And like 175 pounds.
And 100. Yeah, it's not like he's bullying people. It's just literally his explosiveness, his slipperiness getting to the rim, like the pick and roll. They need a center bad because they have no roll threat. But man, like I'm not gonna bash Bismack Biyombo, even though I kind of did. But it's just not his specialty. Like the team needs some help. It's just how much can Ja plug up of their flaws. I'm not going to skip over Desmond Bane because he's been holding it down. I know the record doesn't say he's been holding it down, but one man doesn't make a team.
Right.
But he's been damn near sensational, man. Like his shot creation has gotten better. His ability to get to the rim has gotten better. He's always been a good shooter. His playmaking.
Yeah.
Like I think he finished with like 5 assists. He should have had 9 or 10. It's just they couldn't hit their shots. And that's a common occurrence for them and for him. Just super thrilled to see this team. I don't know if they'll make it to the play-in because they're like 7 and 19. Yeah,
7 and 19 now.
It's just I don't know how far they'll make it. I don't know if they started too late, but once this team gets, Marcus Smart back and incorporated, that's another guy to bring them edge. And when you have him and Ja, say what you want about them as like people, as whatever you want to, I don't care. But like as basketball players, man, like those two guys will fight every single day. And it's not to discredit Bane or Jackson because they'll do the same, but everybody just follows suit. If you believe you can win, man, everybody's gonna give it 120% for sure.
Yeah, and so because we did mention a lot of Ja. My favorite thing about Ja, though, and I realized this watching yesterday, even though I haven't missed a lot of Ja Morant games, I'm gonna be honest with you, but my favorite thing that kind of went under my own radar is the playmaking. Because I understand, like we talk about the athleticism and how quick he is, but it's not easy to make those reads that fast. It's not. So I want to give him credit for that. And I do want to also mention, and this also, for some reason, this wasn't as big of a news story as it probably should have been, maybe the record. But Marcus Smart is due to come back either later this week or next week. And also, we didn't mention, because we talk about Ja's rim pressure and what that does for the shooters, Luke Kennard is also going to be back soon. And so I think when you add that, you add Marcus Smart with the defense, you add Luke Kennard shooting, they could look, this was a very good team the past 2 seasons. And now missing Steven Adams is tough because you need that defense and a screener that good with John Morant's rim pressure and just the speed he plays at, not giving a defender a whole lot of time to decide whether he's going to go over, under, whatever it is. That makes things tougher. But I think even without Steven Adams, when you talk about Desmond Bane's edge, when you talk about John Morant's edge, when you talk about Marcus Smart's edge, this team is going to remind me maybe next season when Steven Adams is back. They're going to remind me a lot of a team you wanted to talk about. Right after the show, you let me know you want, because again, to the audience, we're going to get into a bunch of errors. But Lou specifically wanted to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies of the 2010s, the grit and grind Grizzlies. So I'm going to give you the floor for that team.
Oh, man, yeah, it's a beautiful segue because when we talk about grit and grind, like we talk about having edge to them, that was this Memphis team to a T. They had an incredible run. Just the team composed of, Mike Conley and Zebo, Rudy Gay, Marc Gasol. Like they were just Tony Allen. Like they were able to, play a brand of basketball that like I truly miss to this day. Maybe I sound like an old head saying that, but like they truly played. Even in an era where the league was going towards more of a certain look, they were still like, nah, this is what we're going to do. And they're a team that made back-to-back conference finals. I feel like a team that gets overlooked when we talk about great teams because a lot of people think great teams have to win titles. There's a lot of great teams that haven't won titles, man. And I just it's truly it was truly beautiful watching the high post, low post, Marc Gasol being one of the best passing bigs ever, and just not getting talked about because they played at like a turtle pace even for back then. It's like eras, they with stats and stuff like that's why it's not comparable. But if you watch this team play, if you watch the high post, low post action, their pistol sets, just their horns, like man, they were such a fascinating team. And then they had a guy like Mike Conley, who I believe has never gotten a technical foul in his career, right? Maybe one. Like it was just a heady point guard, crafty, the perfect pieces. Maybe the pieces that complemented each other. Maybe they weren't perfect, but they knew what their job was at the end of the day. And I truly just loved this team. This was my favorite non-Heat team ever. Yeah. So like this was my go-to team when I was really getting into basketball. They would play a lot of late games, specifically against the Spurs. They used to have a little rivalry there because they beat them in the playoffs in 2010 and then came back and got swept, obviously, 2 years later in the conference finals. But I just wanted to give some light, man, shine some light on this incredible underlooked team with a lot of players who just were barely good enough or maybe got, better known for other stints of their careers. Maybe not Mike Conley in them, but, Rudy Gay and Marc Gasol is obviously renowned, now, but back in the day it was like, he was getting a lot of hate, obviously for his defensive player of the year that he won, which he probably shouldn't have, but it is what it is. He was still incredible. And I just, the overall makeup of this roster, the makeup of their specific talent on the team, it was truly fascinating to watch.
Yeah. And so I want to give Marc Gasol some credit, first of all, because if you remember when he was traded to Memphis, it wasn't even necessarily like, man, the Grizzlies got fleeced. It was like, wait, Pau Gasol got a brother? What's going on?
That was the reaction.
But to go from that to, and the 2013 Defensive Player of the Year, I think even if I weren't a Heat fan, I would say LeBron still should have won it. But look at how good those teams were defensively, and understanding Marc Gasol was the anchor of it. I can't be too mad at it. Like, I understand where people were coming from with it. But then you also mentioned with a Defensive Player of the Year, at least Defensive Player of the Year level player regardless. And once again, when we get to award season, I'm going to talk about awards and what I really think. But guards don't get the credit they deserve. And he had somebody on the perimeter with him by the name of Tony Allen.
Yep.
Man, like tough Chicago guard, came into the league like an athlete, like just dunk on you, windmills on a fast break, bouncing to himself, like all kinds of. He got injured and came back elite defender. I believe it was a lower. I don't remember the exact injury. I think it was like a knee or something like that. And he comes back, arguably the best perimeter defender in the league for years and years, and a tactician on that end. It's not just physicality and intimidation. He had that, but there's a skill to defense, and you can watch any Iman Shumpert interview, and he'll kind of get into that because he loves defense also. There's a skill and a method to the madness with defense that just doesn't get the light it deserves. And Tony Allen had all that. I do feel like he should have won a Defensive Player of the Year one of those years. I can't even tell you which year, but he's like, aside from like heady playmaking point guards like a Mike Conley, that's my favorite type of player. Just lock you down, shut you down, defender. Now the problem was
he could not shoot.
Man, and Steve Kerr took advantage of that and ended the era pretty much because they left him out there, and that was kind of just it.
Yeah, the team itself, man, I want to give some credit to like some of their backups too, because like you know they had just a deep team. You know, the Maurice Spates, the Pondexters, the Jared Baylesses, you know, an older Prince who still played a lot during that time. Wayne Ellington, a lot of people may know is the man with the man with the golden arm. Like this is kind of, you know, he's coming onto the scene there, not necessarily super young, but you know, it was still a team that he was playing for. And they were just a very well-rounded team. Again, like maybe like no quote-unquote superstars, but it reminded me a lot of the early Bad Boys Pistons vibes. Yeah, obviously a different era, but it was like nobody who just like, oh, this is the guy, you know, this is the guy we got to stop offensively. It was Zebo for a time, but then, you know, Rudy got there, and obviously Marc Gasol started developing his offensive game and stuff like that. It was just an all-around team effort. I feel like teams like that nowadays aren't really built. It's not common to like not have a superstar and try to win. So it's was a refreshing time in an era where it felt like the whole NBA was leaning, you know, hating on just having all-around stars, and you know, this team then goes under the radar because they didn't win one because they didn't have, you know, the best of the best. So we just wanted to give them some credit on the show for sure.
Yeah, and we can't move on just glossing over Zebo, Zach Randolph. Now, and he's not only just with him like punching Lou Amundsen in the face and stuff like that, but he is the heart and soul of that team.
Yep.
Even just with the way his career went, coming from Marion, Indiana, he wasn't this highly touted pick. Didn't really play much in Portland. Then he got the opportunity, broke out in Portland. Then he kind of bounced around. He went to the Knicks. He went to the Clippers. Then the Clippers drafted Blake Griffin. They got rid of him. Like, all right, we don't need you anymore. He ends up in Memphis, and he revives his career in a way to where he goes from a reclamation project to an absolute legend. Yeah, in Memphis. And I miss that style of play. And I know, like, Nikola Jokic, who we'll talk about in the next segment, has a post game, and I know Alperen Sengun's coming out with his, and Joel Embiid, obviously. But these highly skilled post players like a Zach Randolph, like a Al Jefferson, they don't exist anymore. But I loved those types of players, probably because I was a big in high school who had none of that skill. But I miss those types of players, man. So just real quick, just get into Zach Randolph, because when you said you want to talk about this team, that was the first name you brought up.
Yeah, no, Zach Randolph, just his ability to, like I said, man, to just feed off of specifically the interior, like entry passing, the plays, because he was a power forward who weighed like 270. Yeah, I mean, maybe they were being generous with his weight back then, putting him like 250, but come on, man, like he was a little bowling ball. He wasn't the most athletic guy, wasn't the best athlete. He was just strong as fuck. Like, there was no other way to put it. Like, his face-up game, his footwork, his ability to get to his spot, even if he was slow, it was like, I'm gonna get here, and you know I'm coming here, and you still won't stop me. Yeah. And it like the pace of the team, like you stated, I said the team was the slowest team in the league. He was the reason for it. Like, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. The way it worked was because he was able to still get his own buckets during this half court set, get him out of tough situations. He was just an all around very talented player. and was, like you said, a reclamation project at that time, wasn't even touted or supposed to be what he became in Memphis, and ended up going from a reclamation project to like the most beloved player in that team in a matter of like a year and a half. It was incredible. And no, man, Zach Randolph, like a fun fact was that was back when, I started getting into the 2K scene. I made every player Zach Randolph build. It didn't matter. I was going out there with a 4 who couldn't shoot, but I would post people up, and it was just a blast.
Man, I can't lie. This is off topic, but I made a player recently who could post up, and I haven't told my friends this yet. They're gonna just see it when they see it. I've been appearing offline, but you have a point there because it's so fun spinning off people and watching them fly out of the way. We're gonna go ahead and Denver Nuggets. Defending champions, 19-10 right now. They are, I can't even lie to you, 19-10 doesn't seem that impressive, quote unquote, for what I'm about to say. But I feel like I'm a little more scared of them now than I was last year. I'll get into why, but I'll let you go in on that team a little bit first.
No, man, this team is like I don't even know what to compare him to. It's just like the little engine that won't stop.
Yeah.
And that engine is obviously Nikola Jokic. Like, it is insane what he does. And it's not a little engine. It's like a Duramax diesel, whatever. I don't know nothing about cars, but it's the biggest thing you could find. And it just doesn't stop. And it doesn't matter who's around him. He makes it work. And he is so incredibly difficult to stop, to contain. This offense is full of players that play a role to a T. And the buy-in is ridiculous. I know their record isn't looking as good. They've had a lot of injuries, and they're cruise since last year, they were the best team basketball had seen offensively ever up until like January. And then they were like, all right, we got to chill out. We got the playoffs to come. So they took like a month and a half vacation. That's kind of what it felt like. I feel like they won a chip. They're like, yeah, we're taking a little bit of a vacation. Like, because you still see, moments and times where they turn it on. And it's crazy because I don't even think they're playing that like as good as they should be. And they're 19-10 is the way I'm looking at it. This team is a way better team than 19-10. And they still don't get, I feel like people don't really talk about like the West still has to go through them.
Yeah.
Like, are we not watching them play basketball? Like, I realize to some people it may feel fluky, whatever you want to say, but this team has, they have the best offensive hub in basketball.
Yeah.
Like, I feel very confident saying that. I feel like it shouldn't even be debatable at this point. And they honestly have the best two-man game in basketball, in my opinion. It's not just the hub of Jokic, if not the playmaking of Jamal, his shot making off the pick and roll, their ability to play together is something that I feel like no other duo does to quite that level. Shout out to Maxey and Embiid. I know we'll talk about them at some point because they're giving them a run for their money, but still, it's a different level of just efficiency with those two guys. And man, I'll let you talk about them because I can ramble on all day.
So here's why I say they scared me more this year than they did last year. So they lost Bruce Brown in the offseason, and nobody really talked about it, but the sentiment from people who did was it's kind of a tough loss. I don't know. Bruce Brown, he did a lot for him, great defender, versatile player. And I thought that too for like a day or two, and I was like, hold up. This gives Christian Brown an opportunity now to kind of do some of the same things. And he's younger. He came up in their system in a sense. And look, as Heat fans, I don't remember which game that was because I put it out of my memory. But we know his
it wasn't a game. It was a whole series.
Really, yeah.
he single-handedly shut down our offense the whole series.
So we know his potential already. And so that was like, all right, they lost Bruce Brown, but typically when players let a guy like that walk, they have something. Usually when a team lets a guy like that walk, they have something in mind already. So I usually look for what that is. And I found it pretty quickly in Christian Brown. Now, what I didn't expect, a couple weeks ago, I'm watching Nuggets versus Suns, and I'm watching Peyton Watson hold Kevin Durant who I understand his age, but he's still averaging 30 right now. He's still Kevin Durant. Hold Kevin Durant to 1 for 9 from the field and not break a sweat. And his offense is coming along now.
That's the guy. I know you were talking about Christian Braun. I don't know how to say his last name, but I know you were talking about Christian. But I remember as soon as the Bruce Brown news broke, I believe Mike Malone was asked about it, and he was like, "Yeah, the team president was like, yeah, we feel very confident Peyton Watson specifically, they name dropped him, can fill the Bruce Brown role." And man, he hasn't been perfect. Neither was Bruce Brown. As a Miami fan, I loved him to death. I still love him to death. But it's just players that fit in within a concept, and his defense, his ability to just do everything. It feels like, like he might not be like otherworldly at anything. Maybe his defense is, that level of elite, or it certainly has the potential to be. He's still incredibly young. Yeah. It's just he's able to affect the game in so many areas. And he's truly able to. The game that I saw specifically was the OKC game, which was a heck of a game they lost in. But man, Peyton Watson it felt like the only person who can contain Shea for a while in that game. He had an incredible first half, and had some mistakes in the second half. And shout out to Mike Malone. I feel like he's an incredible coach that doesn't really get the respect that I feel like he probably deserves. I mean, I know he got a coach of the year, but I'm just talking about like general, like people don't really talk about him. But he let him play through a lot of those mistakes, and that's a big thing for this team, because Bruce Brown for them was huge last year. So him now basically having two guys, fill that void in a sense, instead of one, is just great. And then another thing, they're great cost controlled assets. Yeah. Like we talk about team building, like the Nuggets have done it to a fucking crisp T. Like they know exactly what the fuck they're doing. Their cap sheets don't look all the way crazy because they know who they pay and they know what they can get. And their pipeline is incredibly good. They have picks coming in, I feels like every year, who come in ready to contribute. Zeke Naji is another one of them. Like it's just incredible. Like the team in general is just very properly built, coached, and I wouldn't be shocked if they go all the way again, man.
I predicted, honestly. I don't make predictions, but I don't know how you stop that. And I do want to mention, because before I forget, you mentioned Mike Malone, and I put this together recently because I like looking beyond just the game and like looking at guys' background and the coaching staff, stuff like that. And so Mike Malone's stop before Denver was head coach of the Sacramento Kings, where he coached. If people don't remember how good DeMarcus Cousins was before those injuries,
go watch the film.
and so he had experience coaching a big who could pass, who could handle, and then you get this just like, if you listen to previous episodes, you probably know my first favorite player when I started watching basketball was Jason Kidd. So anytime I'm able to put anybody in his like realm as far as passing, it's impressive. Anybody. When you can put a 7-foot center in there, and I can't even deny it's just like the cross court passes, and he does something specifically that I remember as a kid hearing Jason Kidd say, because I think there's millions of field basketball players out there. I'm not the only one. So when I was trying to learn the game and stuff, Jason Kidd will mention not passing to the player himself, but passing to a spot.
There you go.
Or where you want the player to go. And so watching Nikola Jokic in, whether it's an inverted pick and roll or whether it's a dribble handoff, and his teammate is still at the free throw line, but the ball is under the basket, it's just like, all right, you know what? This is a little different. Like, it's one thing, like, to a lead pass is one thing, but like, no, the ball is all the way over there. Go get it. And I know the defense is not going to get it.
He is so special, man. I know they made the right choice because it was between him and Nurkic for a while, and they decided him. And this is no discredit to Nurkic. It's just we got to give Jokic his props. I think he does. You named one of the things he does that I feel like is literally unteachable. I feel like you cannot teach people to read the game of basketball the way that Nikola Jokic reads the game of basketball. You can help him make a read or two, but he reads everything at once all the time, on the dribble, on the move, during a post up, during a fade. Like it doesn't matter. And the other thing is his touch.
Yeah. He does not miss.
I swear I feel like I've never seen the man miss a hook shot that touches the rim more than once. Like if it touches the rim twice, it goes in. It's his ability to make tough contested shots with that level of touch. Mm-hmm. This was a stat that floated around basically all of last year. It was Nikola Jokic was the best on what they call touch or floaters or runners, whatever you want to call those level of shots. He shot 67%, which was the best in basketball. The second best player was Tyler Hero. He shot 54%. So it was a 13% difference between the best touch in the league and the rest of the league. It was like, what are we watching here? Like it's not common to like you see great defense being played and then the ball trickles twice, goes in, and you're like you just like, it's like he's unguardable. Obviously he doesn't shoot as much as some of the people and his game isn't as flashy, I guess. But man, when you talk about efficiency, he's he should be the pillar, the epitome of efficiency in today's basketball. And the reason this team is anywhere what they are is it's honestly him. Like, they struggle without some of their other players there, but I feel like, you can still see him in the playoffs. Without him there, I don't know where this team lies. So,
yeah. And so I also have a crazy Nikola Jokic stat for you. So because he gets the flack for not being a great defender and watching the games, he look, did you know Nikola Jokic is currently third in the league in deflections per game?
I'm so happy you brought up his defense, man. People, I feel like people see somebody who's just slow and doesn't move well, and they're like, bad defender.
Yeah.
As a big in their scheme, he's not asked to do things that he's not comfortable doing. Shout out Mike Malone. But the things that he does, he's not a great at the level. Like he's not really a great at the level defender kind of.
Right.
But when he goes to the level, he has Aaron Gordon behind him, lets him play a little bit more free, makes him a better defender. Just that level of confidence, of security behind you helps you out. But when he plays and drop, his ability to strip, to get into the, his IQ offensively translates to him being it's a defense.
And it has to.
And
it's a yin and a yang.
Exactly. And he's not the most wild defender. He doesn't really get a block a game for somebody who's 7 feet damn near. Like it doesn't matter. Like just watch him play basketball and you're like, damn, contested a shot. Not, wasn't out of position there. Affected this, deflected a pass. One thing I will say that the NBA has to fix is his kickball rule, because he leads the league. Like he's playing soccer out there, and it's frustrating to watch as a basketball fan. I feel like they need to revamp the rule. If there's a kickball on a backdoor and the guy was open, maybe a free throw in the ball or something. I don't know, man. NBA fixed that for a bit, but like credit to him exploiting a rule in the league. Like we see it all the time on offense. It's just the IQ. Like, you're not going to fix it. I'm going to take advantage. And it's props to the players. I know players hate that. I mean, fans hate that, but everybody talks like, if the rule is like that, then I'm going to expose it. CP3, Harden, like some of the smartest players the game's ever seen had literally, prolonged their career doing shit like that. So, shout out to Jokic and his defense. Continue.
Yeah, and you can't talk defense without me really getting into it, because like that's my that like being able to block shots was the only reason I ever got on the floor in high school. I'm gonna be honest with you. All I could do was jump out the gym and block some shots. But when we get into defense, I'm so glad you mentioned like looking at the other things that are not so loud. He's not gonna block your dunk. He's not gonna get in the passing lane and windmill on the other end. And so it kind of goes unnoticed because he is within, like you said, a scheme, and he's not. Like, I feel like, and it's not to disparage anybody or any type of fan or anything. I don't want to do that. But it feels like people learned, even like not even fully learned, but kind of learned the concept of mismatch hunting and just wouldn't stop talking about it, whether they knew what they were talking about or not. So, no, Nikola Jokic is not going to shut Kyrie down. That's not going to happen. But there's so much more that goes into defense. And even that scheme in itself, well, not scheme, that strategy in itself is not necessarily even effective that often because defense is a team concept. And so within that team concept, you still have your help. Like you mentioned, he has Aaron Gordon with him. He may have Peyton Watson with him. As long as he can hold down his spot on the floor, he's still playing great defense, regardless of if he's in somebody's chest. I feel like the idea of great defense is being in somebody's jersey and blocking their shot or stripping them or whatever it is. But there's, like I said, there's so much more. And I may have said this in a previous episode, but I feel like offense is worked on in the gym and defense is worked on in the film room. To where you know guys' tendencies, where you know the other team's sets, where you're blowing them up, where you know where everybody's supposed to be and you're exploiting it. And I feel like we've marveled at Nikola Jokic's IQ this whole time. That's what that he makes up for whatever physical disadvantages he has with the IQ, with being in the right spot at the right time, with understanding where his teammates are, where the other team's team, where everybody on the other team is. And so I just want to give him some credit for that. And there's a lot more guys. Look, I'm going to tell y'all right now, it's only episode 7. When defense get brought up, it's probably going to end up with me kind of ranting a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you because I love defense. And so I'm going to give him credit for that. And we honestly just can't move on without talking about Jamal Murray. Came back from injury recently. He hasn't put up huge numbers, but I don't feel like that matters, especially within that team's offense. You're probably never going to get a guy aside from Jokic averaging 30, even if Jokic even wants to average 30. They move the ball too much for that. So that's just not a team where you just look at numbers and say, all right, well, he's only averaging however many points. He's having a down year. And I'm going to be honest, I don't check stats. It's very rare for me to watch a game and look at the box score. I never know that stuff. And it's not to be like, oh, y'all are box score watchers, whatever, I'm above you. It's not that. It's just like those numbers don't really say anything most of the time. I feel like I'll look at the numbers to kind of like, I feel like a guy's having a good game. I'll watch to reaffirm it. But
exactly,
for the most part, those numbers just don't really, you can't have. So I feel like numbers are the icing on the cake. But without the cake, icing is just kind of nasty. You don't need it. That's how I feel about it. So I feel like watching the games also. But back to the point, Jamal Murray, obviously their pick and roll, all the two-man actions were unstoppable last season. And I feel like as Jamal Murray gets his rhythm back, it's obviously going to be the same thing.
Yeah, 2,000%. Like I said, man, I feel like this team doesn't really care about the regular season. Like they know how good they are. They just want to repeat. And every time people always bring up, oh, is Jamal Murray this? Is Jamal Murray that? In the regular season, people question it. But when the playoffs come, that's never been asked. It shouldn't be, because every time whether it was in the bubble, whether it was last year, every year it's felt like since he's been in the playoffs and his responsibility goes up, it's not that he's not doing it in the regular season. It's just he's not being asked to do it as much. But when he gets asked, like, all right, it's the postseason, we need you to shoulder an extra 10, 15%. He does it, and instead of his efficiency dropping, it stays the same or improves. It's truly ridiculous. His playmaking is something that's gotten like incredibly better since like when he first came into even in the bubble, where he was, him and Mitchell were going at it for a while. That was one of the most entertaining basketball playoff series I've ever seen. But like his ability to play make back then wasn't at this level. He's making these reads that, his assist numbers, I don't even know what the fuck they are. And I know he's never averaged like 7 or 6 assists in his career. But it doesn't matter because that's not what the team is tailored to. It's just the reads that he's making during the game. Like the advantages he's given his team, both on the ball with his scoring and as a playmaker, is something that's going to continue to get overlooked because the stats don't talk about it. But man, he's been sensational. He's just getting his rhythm back and he's still lighting it up from 3. Like the shot is real. His ability to create shots is real. His ability to, I feel like he doesn't really force much.
Right.
Just play within the offense.
Yeah.
Is truly special. And Yeah, we'd be remiss not to bring him up for sure.
Yeah, and I do want to give one more player a shout out before we move on. Aaron Gordon, I'm gonna give credit to.
Dang.
And now we're not gonna talk about this until All-Star Weekend, where it's more appropriate. But I know exactly why, because every year there's the Why Don't Stars enter the dunk contest. I know exactly why, but we'll get into that in a couple months. Aaron Gordon stopped caring about the dunk contest, and as soon as that happened, he becomes a major contributor on a championship team. The defense. Now, I remember him on Orlando. He could handle the ball some, he could score. I do not remember him being this kind of defender.
Yeah, buy-in. It's kind of what it's felt like. I feel like he would show flashes, but he wasn't asked to be a stopper like he is now. And like you said, man, like talk about it, a player completely just transforming his game. Like he's evolutionized not just his game, but his role. And sometimes that's a lot harder to do than just, adjust your game. It's like he's completely bought in. He's no longer being asked to score as much as he was, but he still punishes mismatches. Like one of the and that's what makes his team so fucking good offensively is they have an array of guys who they're literally like their best strength offensively is like punish mismatches, whether it's Jokic, whether it's him, whether it's Michael Porter Jr., like it's just their ability to just get to, Aaron Gordon's ability to punish smaller guys, make them pay off of switches, to still act as a hub, go out there and guard their best, small forward, power forward. And a big development is the non-Jokic minutes with him at the 5.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like it's not
everything.
Yeah, it's a complete it's a curveball after I guess a fastball because Jokic is kind of slow, but it's a complete different. It's like throwing a 100-mile-per-hour heater after throwing an 80-mile-per-hour curveball. It's like you're expecting slow, and then it's boom, switch, contain, dribble penetration, like not play drop, play at the level. Like it's just a complete different scheme as soon as he steps on the floor, and it's literally just because he's at the 5. And huge credit to Aaron Gordon for sure, because I feel like he was not talked about for a while, like just forgotten.
This is how crazy Aaron Gordon's transition has been into this like great, like totally different player. Every once in a while, I'll be watching the Nuggets and he'll get a dunk, and I'll be like, "Wait, he got that in him?" And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, he went under both legs over a mascot. Like, yeah, he can dunk. He's just like
on a hoverboard.
He's just a whole different player, and it's contributed to a championship. And he's a real threat. I'm not gonna say you're not scoring on him, but to be this defensive stopper, kind of, I want to say all of a sudden, and credit to Mike Malone once again, incredible coach. Getting them to buy in on both ends. Like he's on both ends, just turned this team into damn near an art form. Like I feel like this team, like they don't get the credit they deserve, but the people who love basketball, like you can't dislike this team. Like it's just beautiful fucking basketball on both ends of the floor.
Yeah,
and it's just like, man, credit to Mike Malone for that, because there was it was a strange team before this. Strange is a crazy word in a sense, but like it was sort of disorganized. You had the Nurkic and Jokic thing. You had Kenneth
Lawson.
It was a how do you put this thing together? And it's been such a perfect mesh of player styles, player development, just whatever Mike Malone needs a player to do, he somehow maximizes that, even if that's not what they're known for. So I want to give him credit for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The team they've been on a tear for a while now. So
yeah,
shout out to the Denver Nuggets. Again, so it's ironic. I apologize because I never make any like forward thinking tweets or like, like I think this team's gonna win the finals. Last year, I had watched so many other games during the December-January run that I was like, I literally tweeted, I was like, yep, Denver Nuggets are winning the NBA Finals. I tweeted in like January and like it got like no likes, no retweets. And then I hated that when we played him, I was like, shit, like I'm still gonna be right, but like my team's losing, man. It was tough because They were just like you said, man. Like they play basketball. Like if basketball was written in a handbook, it would be the Denver Nuggets offense. Mm-hmm. If team defense was written in a handbook, it'd be, and they're not the best defensive team. I don't want to say that, but for what they have available, like for their physical limitations, Jamal Murray is not a great defender either. Like, Michael Porter Jr. is not really a great, like he's big, but like, he's, they have their limitations, but in general, as a concept of a team buying in, just beautiful. And I feel like we should be blessed to have him, even though OKC gave him for the money, man. That was the difference.
Ted Holmgren had like 9 blocks. It was ridiculous.
We talked about him not too long ago, but shit, I feel like we got to talk about that motherfucker every time. He's special, bro.
I swear to God. We gonna go ahead and we got to go home. We got to go home. Didn't plan on doing it, but I either woke up from a nap or was just doing something, and I got the news that Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero were both coming back for the Miami Heat. And I woke up because I'm going to be honest with you, as much as I love my team and everybody on that team was interesting to me, and like I was like, man, just watching that team, like I have never seen a Heat defense that bad as they were without Bam.
Yeah.
Like
it's bad when Kevin Love is your second best defensive big.
Yeah, at 68 years old. And like, but and again, I'm not the award person, but I feel like if that wasn't the case with Bam Adebayo winning Defensive Player of the Year, I don't. It's just cancel awards.
Yeah, man, Bam defensively, like what is there to say? Like, watch any Heat game, and you can tell when he's on the floor and when he's not. Yeah, like I feel like it's truly that simple. Not to say he's a perfect center defensively, because he's not. But the step down between him and everybody else, you just, as soon as he steps off the court, it's like, oh, we're hitting this every time. We're going to this cue every time. And, I don't even think that, like you just said, Tyler and Bam came back. So I don't even think the team is fully, like they haven't really played. Like they're really good right now. I believe we're 17 and 12?
Yeah, 16 and 12. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, 16 and 12. And like, I don't think they've played 7 games with the team fully healthy and everybody in the proper rows. I don't think they played 5 games with the team fully healthy and everybody in the rows, if I'm being really honest.
They lead the league in starting lineups.
16. I think they started
something ridiculous like that.
And they got as many starting lineups as they do win, and they got 16 of them in 28 games. Like it's truly just the team. Just it feels different. They're not fully healthy, but the vibes, at least for me personally, I think this is the best Heat team that they've had in a while. I think this is better than last year's team. I think the team that this competes with is the bubble team. And the only reason I won't go as far as to say this team is better is because Goran Dragic was a different animal back then. Yeah. And he was able to do a lot that this team is kind of still missing from time to time. But Kenny, man, I know you lobbed to me Bam Adebayo. I got to lob to you, your guy, man. A lot of slander, a lot of polarizing opinions is the way I'll put it. A lot of people on both sides of the fence. Some people, I don't want to say pushing narratives or pushing agenda, just stating their opinions, I guess.
Pushing narratives. Let's not even. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Some people pushing certain agendas on the negative light. I've talked to you about Tyler personally. People pushing, positive lights, things that he does. And I want to ask you, because everybody is, and maybe some, I believe even if you disagree with somebody's argument, I feel like you shouldn't, there's still certain things that you're like, yeah, you got a point on. Yeah. It's just, certain things you disagree on, obviously. But his shot volume was a thing that was brought into question a lot during the beginning of the year. Yeah. Now, the beginning of the year, when he was healthy, it wasn't like the team had much offense anyways.
Right.
But once he got hurt, as it tends to happen with him and his luck, the team started to find a stride. Their offense started to click. And then he comes back and people are like, is he going to hurt the team's offense because his shot volume? And I just want to know your view on these past 2 games in specific, the Minnesota game and the Orlando game.
Yeah.
Because I think those people got to be quiet. I'll be real honest.
Yeah, man.
Like you get him, Kenny.
To come straight off of missing 18 games, and in the first 2 games, you're at 25.5 points per game. I think 6.5 rebounds and 5.5 assists, something crazy like that. It's somewhere around there. But I think with Tyler in general, I've been watching a lot of basketball for a lot of years. I don't know if I've ever seen the goalpost move as much for a 23-year-old player. I feel like when it was, and LeBron got a lot of criticism throughout his career, right? But it was once he won a championship, people kind of shut up a little. And then when he won in Cleveland, they really shut up.
Yep.
But so just going through, first of all, like some of the criticism Tyler Hero gets, I don't understand. Like being in a music video, like Michael Jordan was in a music video and Kobe rapped. Like these are the most psychopathic basketball players of all time. Yep. Like Shaq. Basketball obsessed. Shaq rapped. And so I don't get that stuff, but Udonis Haslem said it best when it comes to Tyler Hero. There are not a lot of people really in NBA history who have accomplished what Tyler's accomplished at his age. And I think his age kind of gets lost. Like he's 23 years old right now. 23 years old. Whether he was with the team or not, if you watch that Heat team last year, that is a lottery team without Tyler Hero. Like I understand De'Aaron Fox won Clutch Player of the Year, well deserved, 100% well deserved. Tyler Hero, if he would have won it, he'd have no argument for me. He saved that team's ass a whole lot last season.
Yep.
Just being able to, and he's not efficient enough around the rim for me to call him a 3-level scorer, but the context that gets left out of that, right, is who he plays with. Bam Adebayo, he's automatic from 15, 16 feet now, but before he scored at the rim. Jimmy, very good mid-range shooter, but for the most part, he's at the rim. Yeah, you need somebody on the perimeter to take those jumpers and kind of spread the floor on the defense. And we're going to get to Duncan Robinson in a second. But I think with Tyler Hero, with his self-creation, that's a must on this team. Because even with Bam, like he's kind of coming off of pick and pops and different actions to get to his stuff. Jimmy's he wants to post you up and bully you. I think Tyler being able to score in multiple ways, and now because his first few seasons, you could say he was inefficient. Now you can't really do that. Like he's not taking less dribbles, but he's getting to his spot and he's being smarter with his shots. And he's always been a good rebounder, but he's a better rebounder now, and he's a better playmaker now. And so I think some of the talk is people being bored or just having a take and wanting to stick with it, which is something I think all sports fans did at one point, but I personally grew out of. Because at this point, like if you're saying Tyler Hero's an inefficient, ball stopping, this, that, and the third, whatever it is, you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, it's like I said, context is needed in a lot of these discussions. Does he have moments where he tends to over dribble? Absolutely. Does he have moments where he can be inefficient? Yes. Every player in basketball does. If I'm being
not to cut you off, don't be saying, but not to cut you off, but does he have moments where he looks 23 years old? Absolutely. Yes.
Boom. There it is. And I will say the thing that I've been most impressed with, because I do, as anybody does, I don't think anybody on this Heat team is perfect. I critique Bam Adebayo, and he's my favorite player on this team. And we'll get to his critiques in a second. Yeah. Tyler is not perfect. He is not perfect. However, with that being said, man, he is 23 and he just seems to get better every fucking year. How good is his ceiling? I don't fucking know. Nobody knows. Like, is this his ceiling? It might be. But what if it's not? And these last two games in particular, I think that efficiency talk should be put to rest.
Mm-hmm.
I think his ball stopping talk should definitely be put into rest because he is moving the ball. He is swinging the ball at a moment's notice, and his adaptability to what the team needs is elite for somebody who's 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's been doing that since he was 19, since his rookie year. He was, you need me to score, I'm going to go score. You need me to come off the bench and score, that's what I'm going to do. You need me to come off the bench and, you know, occasionally run some pick and rolls and facilitate for you, that's what I'm going to do. Now he's added his movement shooting has been so much better. When he came into the league, he was like pure, you know, pull up and catch and shoot player. But like his movement shooting is not something that I thought he was ever good at. He tried, but I don't think he was really good at. Now he's adding that to his game. His floater has always been elite. We just talked about he was the second best floater in all of basketball last year for a majority of the season. Like, but it's truly, it's the other things, man. He does a little bit of everything. He rebounds the ball very well for somebody his size. I think that gets overlooked. And he's actually leading the team in deflections per game.
Yeah.
Do I think Tyler Hero is a good defender? No. I'll be the first to tell you. Improved. Not good. his defense on the ball is not particularly great, but he's doing other things defensively where I felt like he wasn't doing, to be honest, to this level of consistency ever in his career. Like he had some flashes in some games, you know, he'd get in some lanes, but now he's consistently, I feel like, getting at least one or two deflections a game. He's over 2 deflections a game, and just contributing in other factors. And if I'm being very honest, I think he's the only player on this team who can get a shot up. I want to use this correctly because Jimmy can get a shot up whenever he wants. So can Bam, but he's the only one who can get I feel like a pull-up 3-up whenever he wants to. And he gets looked upon a lot for these grenades, as I like to call them. Yeah. Like, Tyler, we know your repertoire is hitting tough shots. Here's 5 seconds. Make shit happen. Yeah. And I feel like those numbers don't really get talked into, you know, some of the efficiency stuff. I don't think he's the most efficient player. I don't think he's inefficient. He's definitely been getting better. But I'm glad we're talking about the Heat, man, because 16 and 12 is nothing to be positive about. But if you watch them play, like, please.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the shot diet because I feel like that's what impresses me the most with Tyler Hero. Like, yeah, you can look at the numbers and be like, okay, field goal percentage is pretty good. 3-point percentage, he's under 40, but it's pretty good. But when you watch and you see how tough the shots he's taking it's like, wow, how is he pulling this off? Like these turnarounds, his ability to create space. Nobody on this, and that's what I meant to say earlier, nobody on this Heat team, aside from Tyler Hero, is creating space with the ball like that.
Not a single person.
And so I got to give him the credit for that. I got to give him the credit for, once again, not going to sit here and act like he's Gary Payton, but to improve the defense. And every year watching Tyler Hero, it's like he'll get criticized for something, and he'll come back the next season better at it every time. And he'll listen in interviews. He listens to, like, we know from his relationships with certain fans, and we know, like, he is fully aware of what's going on social media. He's fully aware of what the talk is around the league about him. And he'll say in interviews, this offseason, I'm going to work on this. And he'll come back that offseason, that next season, able to do it.
It's incredible. I'm so fucking glad you said that, because a lot of the ball stopping thing started coming up when the Heat started winning games without Tyler Hero. Yeah. Even though I want to be clear, I don't think the games they lost at the beginning of the season were his fault at all. Sure. If anything, Jimmy Butler should look in the mirror a little bit closer, if we're being very honest, because the whole team, I don't think they were healthy. That's another story. Health was a concern, but like everybody deserves a little bit of blame for the beginning of the year. Yeah. But he on the interview today, he was like, yeah, man, my job is just to come in, find my shots, spread the ball around, keep it moving. Like he consistently, like you said, listens to the media. I feel like he has like a personal notebook and he just writes the shit down people say. And he's like, check. Like every year, like you said, it's like a checklist. You say I can't do this, I'm going to come back and do it. During the season, we just saw he missed 18 games. The whole talk was about him being a ball stopper. this offense without him on the court these last 2 games has been fucking putrid. Yeah. So like, and never once have I been like, Tyler, get off the ball. Tyler, get off the ball. Tyler, get off. It hasn't happened over the last 2 games. Hopefully it continues, because this has been his most efficient year by far. I actually didn't even think he was shooting this good from the field, but 47, 42, 91 splits is, you want to talk about efficiency, man.
You can't be mad at that. And then once again, looking at the shots he's taken, these are not easy shots. And so I got to give him the credit for that. But also, because the talk was, should he come off the bench now? Stupid. I'm not. It's stupid. He should never come off the bench anymore. Yeah, that's over with. He grew out of that. But the reason that was brought up, aside from people who just don't like Tyler Hero, I'm not talking to them.
We gonna talk about him.
Well, we're not gonna talk about it. But aside from that, it's Duncan Robinson. Credit to him being out of the rotation for a year and a half. Coming back, still being the fastest player to this many 3-point, the fastest, and he's not even like, he's not just a 3-point specialist anymore.
No,
like he showed flashes in the playoffs of off-ball movement and cutting at the right time, and he is doing everything now. Well, no matter starting off the bench, it's just like, man, like I can't think of somebody who's had such a climb upward twice. First, the whole Division II thing, and I don't want to talk. That story's been told a billion times. Getting into the rotation, being arguably the best shooter in the league at one point, struggling after he got paid, slowly being out of the rotation, staying out of the rotation for, like I said, a year and a half. Max Strus leaves, he comes back on fire and just hasn't gone out. We are 28 games into the season, and he is just still incredible, and also improved defensively once again.
Yeah, I feel like Duncan's thing defensively has just been like, I feel like they stopped calling some of the fouls that they shouldn't have been calling.
He's always on the flash. The referees just fuck it up.
Man, I feel like his defense wasn't bad. I feel like I get a lot of slack for this. I feel like Duncan is a good defender. Like we talk about Tyler. I don't think Tyler is that level of good. I think Duncan is a better on-ball defender than Tyler, and off the ball, he doesn't get the steals, but he draws charges. His help side rotation is very good, especially when they're doubling. Like his doubles are timely. Everybody knows what he was as a shooter, but to your point, he's shooting 44% from 3 this year on 7 attempts. But it's not that. It is his ability to get to the fucking rim and play make off the rim. He's not even averaging 3 assists. He's averaging 3 assists. So people look at that and they're like, oh, what are we doing? This guy's averaging 3 assists. If you see the amount of attention he's able to draw and then drive to the rim, and he's one of the few people that barely messes up those like reads, whether it's the corner guy or the guy at the 45-degree angle on the wing 3. Like just his quick trigger, his passes on slips. The offense, like literally, like the Miami Heat offense was running on Duncan for the entire time Tyler Hero was hurt. If I'm being very honest, like he was one of the, and now the impressive thing is, like you said, a guy who was doubted not just once, but then doubted twice. Personally, I used to work at the arena, so I've met Duncan Robinson, and as a person, he's a super chill guy, man. But it's one of the things that, like, even when the few times that me and him had a conversation at the time was it's cool because it's different when you're in the media. But then when I was just working there, I was like a regular person, and I would talk to him. He would kind of open up, and I was talking to him and Chris Quinn this one time, and Chris Quinn literally told me, he's like, I was like, oh, I saw he hit a game winner in the G League the night before he got called up, and then he was just practicing with the team. And it was ironic because I told Chris, I was like, oh, I seen him, I was like, congrats on the game winner yesterday. And then Chris Quinn literally looked at me, and he said, if this guy, he said, if this motherfucker ever believes in this shot the way that he should, he's going to be around this league for a long time because he's one of the best shooters I've ever seen. And I was like, Chris, we need shooting, man. Like we got to tell Spoelstra. Like, no, but it was truly fascinating. And the intensity at which he worked at, the player that he was back then is nowhere near the player that he is today.
Yeah.
And defensively, offensively, talk about improving, talk about stepping up when the team needed him. Shit, man. Like Duncan's been special, and he's not going to get any talk for improved player of the year because his stats don't back it up. But I know in my heart of hearts that I've never seen a player improve this much. Right. He came into the league as purely a specialist, and now he was running pick and rolls. He was rejecting pick and rolls. He was going through them. He was flowing into middies. His floater, he has a floater now. That never had a floater. Getting to the rim, his finishing is good. Like, he's doing all these things that he just never really had in his arsenal. His off-ball movement was always good, but and I feel like he was to be very honest, I feel like he was always a very good passer.
Yeah. He
just didn't get to the rim to showcase the passing. But now he's getting to the rim and the passing. Everybody's like, holy fuck, Duncan can make these reads. I was like, he could before. He just got there once a game. Now it's 4 or 5 times a game, and it looks a lot better. So
and so you used to work at the arena. I used to go to a whole bunch of games. I'm gonna just give a little bit of insight to people who may not be from Miami. Have you ever been in the arena during that first year when Duncan Robinson couldn't miss a three?
Yes.
And felt that energy?
I was there every day. It was like crack cocaine. I was like, why does he doesn't miss? So
look, my old job, we had a client. I'm not going to say what I do for a living outside of this. We had a client who lived in Puerto Rico half the time, and he owned a winery or something, so he was rich. So when he'd be in Puerto Rico, and he just give his season tickets away. So he gave me and my coworker at the time some of his tickets, like not on the floor, but we could stand up and be on the floor very quickly. That was the game right before COVID against Orlando where Duncan hit, I don't know how many threes, but because you can't tell in the arena because it's not showing, but like the energy in that building, because it's a 3-point shooting league now. So it's threes are cool. It's fun. When you have somebody shooting at that level, it's unmatched. Like it's just unmatched. That being said, going to give insight one more time to people who may not be Heat fans into like the playoff Jimmy stuff. It's not half as fun as y'all may think it is because we have to endure the regular season where he doesn't care.
We had to talk about it, man. We got to talk about it.
And like, man, I love Jimmy Butler, and we are fully aware of what he's capable of and what he's going to do in May and June. But it's been a tough watch a lot of times this season, man, especially with like the fourth quarter stuff. It's been tough.
We want to talk about ball stopping.
Man,
I hate that I gotta trash Jimmy's
because we love Jimmy.
Because I love him. Like he embraced Miami like nobody outside of Dwayne Wade and Udonis Haslem ever did. That includes LeBron James. So he is one with the city. But God damn, man, sometimes, bro, like his shot selection. We talk about shot selection. Jimmy Butler, sometimes his spacing, that just like the little things that he just doesn't care about during the course of the season. It's kind of why, like, I'm like, don't look at the record because we should theoretically be better than this if he cared just a fucking little bit. It felt like specifically against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The first half was the first quarter and a half of basketball the Miami Heat played with everybody back, everybody healthy except for Kyle Lowry. But it was I was like, what? This is division. Like I wasn't shocked. I was happy I was getting to see that because in my heart I was like, I feel like this team could do this just about every night. Like I think they could be this level of efficient on offense. And then what happens with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter? Jimmy Butler comes in, 3 straight possessions where he does not pass the ball, take 2 contested fadeaway jumpers, and a turnover on the other one. And I was like just completely killed the ball movement, the momentum. And talk about the fourth quarter. We fucking suck in the fourth quarter. I saw some crazy ass stat today. We're minus 104 points in the fourth quarter throughout the season. That is worse. We're worse in one quarter than the Bulls are for the whole season in point differential. The Chicago Bulls suck, people. As it's currently stated, their record is not very good, and we're worse than them at this current moment. Like, I think they're a very good team. I don't think they should be this bad, but still, it's a crazy statistic, and a lot of it is Jimmy ISO ball. I want to get to you because I don't mind the ISO ball if and only if he gets to the line or he gets to the rim.
Yeah.
But it feels like during the regular season, he doesn't really care to do any of those.
Yeah. So a lot of times, because this team has blown almost, there's 2 teams ahead of them last I saw. They've blown I think fourth double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. And so watching these games, and Jimmy will check back in with about 5-6 minutes left, and I'll be thinking like, all right, you know what? All right, so Jimmy's in. We good now. It's Jimmy Butler time. We know what he can do. And then it's like, well, actually it's December and not June. No, the fuck we don't. Let's just go for this ride and see what happens. But the thing that's kind of, it almost makes it worse is that there's going to come a point in time where it is May and June and none of this is going to matter because it's going to be completely clear. Like, all right, he was just working on this stuff that he can't miss now. But it's a stressful thing to go through in the season. And I also am a little afraid of him just not being able to flip that switch at some point.
Man, I'm so glad you took the words right out of my fucking mouth. It's not that I don't. It's not that I love Jimmy, but it is the fact that he's 34, and I need to see some kind of ability to flip the switch now. I'm not asking for it every game, but he hasn't shown it all. It feels like the few games that he has done good, it's been against certain teams that I'm like. Let's be honest, like the Hornets don't have any level of big with, like they don't have a quality shot blocker. Like at least the game that he went off, because Mark Williams is good, but the game that he went off, it wasn't like Nick Richards was going to do anything to him.
Right.
They had Bridges at the 5 for some parts of the game. PJ, like it's just certain games that he decides to do his thing that it's like, okay, there's no center on the floor, but he's shooting. I don't know if he's shooting sub 40% at the rim. It's awful. Disgusting. It's awful. Like his drives he is in the 8th percentile in basketball at finishing at the rim. He's 34 years old. And I'm going to be very honest. I don't think Jimmy was ever particularly a good finisher at the rim.
Right.
It was just, he was able to draw fouls. And during the stretch, everybody talks about the playoffs. Let's be fucking for real. It was a Milwaukee series.
Yeah.
That Milwaukee series, he was elite, not because he was getting to the rim, it's because he was hitting his jumpers. He also has not done that. Jimmy Butler is not known to be a great jump shooter. He has not been a great jump shooter thus far this year. It's kind of what's expected so I'm glad you brought it up because I feel like nobody talks about it. Personally, I am a little scared that I don't know how much he has left in the gas tank, and this team needs some kind of version of that last year. Not to that point because of some of the players we've talked about, and players I'm pretty sure we'll touch on, but
and so I'm not as afraid. Well, I'm first of all, I'm leaning more towards the side of Jimmy Butler being able to step up and be Jimmy Butler when the time comes. But even if he's not able to, I'm a little less afraid of it because of this team's depth. And I mentioned this in episode 1, but when the Dame trade didn't go through, I was like, you know what? This is probably the deepest team that he'd have had in the Jimmy Butler era anyway. I'm cool. Jaime Jaquez Jr., who we talked about it twice on the show already, but there's not much left to say about him. But aside from, he had a bad game tonight against Orlando. But
I think it was his first bad game. It feels like in months.
But he's just been phenomenal. Credit to Josh Richardson. I made the prediction in the offseason. Got a lot of people disagreeing with me. Like, nah, look at his stints in Boston and in New Orleans. Josh Richardson has played well.
Offensively, I will give
offensively, it to you. Defensively, he hasn't Josh Richardson necessarily, but hey. Kyle Lowry. I will give not the most credit. This seems like I'm comparing them to people, but a huge amount of credit to because he looked dead last season. And I even said, like, he just looked like a guy whose body was telling him to retire. Like, it looked like it was over for him. And he's shooting what from three this year?
44. Yeah, he's shooting 44. We got a lot of people shooting good.
Yeah, actually, so they're actually leading the league in 3-point percentage this year.
39.4% is ridiculous. But yeah, Lowry shooting 44. It's not just the shooting though. Like I feel like he's actually getting to the rim.
Yeah,
it doesn't look pretty because he's not getting there with speed, but he's getting there somewhere or another. So it's not that he's shooting when he gets there all the time, but like he's provided release valves for this team when they've been needed, specifically during times where players were injured. I feel like he deserved these 2 days of vacation that he received. But like Kyle Lowry has been specifically cool, very good for his age, and Kevin Love, man. We got to talk about Kevin Love.
Like, talk about somebody who had a resurgence.
Mm-hmm. He was done for.
Yeah, especially, and he looked dead in Cleveland. And last year he came to Miami, he did some stuff, and it was more of like he's a high IQ guy. The guys like him.
A locker room guy.
Like a Udonis Haslem, like nice guy version.
Yeah.
He has been incredible this year. Like, who expected that?
To be very honest, it's not just that how good he has. It's not just how good he has been. It's how good he has made everybody around him. Mm-hmm. His spacing, man, Jesus, his 2-man actions at the top of he's playing the center position. Kevin Love had never played center, I feels like, ever before he came to Miami.
Right.
And the defense survived. I know we talked about without Bam on the floor, but with Kevin Love on the floor, he's not your traditional big. They don't use him in a drop. They blitz every pick and roll. So I don't know how consistent or how much you can use that in the playoffs, considering, you want to be versatile in the playoffs.
Right.
And every time Kevin Love is involved in an action, he blitz it. So, it's an easy cue for the teams to pick up on and game plan against. Mm-hmm. But man, in the regular season, which is what we're talking about, we expected Love to be like, yeah, maybe he doesn't play that much in the regular season, but maybe in the postseason he can save you. He's saving them now. Like he's literally won them games in a quarter. Mm-hmm. When the offense is in a funk, it feels like when the offense is in a funk and Kevin Love comes into the floor, it's like you can count on him to hit 1 or 2 and get you out of that funk, get to the line, draw a foul. He's low-key a better quarterback than the one the Dolphins got.
I don't want to do. I'm not disrespecting.
I don't give up on that.
I gotta go back home one day, and like
no.
Look,
I'm
you
just
gotta understand. Like, look, I'm named after my dad. Like, my dad was 12 years old when they went undefeated, so you know what kind of Dolphins fan he is. I don't want those problems. But man, yeah, like he's just been incredible, and I don't even understand it. I expected him to be out of rotation.
I'll be honest. I thought his minutes were in some kind of danger. I can fully say now that he is not in any danger. He's playing 19 minutes a game. I didn't think he was going to play 19. I thought he was going to be like a 14, 15 minute a game player. That might be what he turns into with Bam coming back healthy and with the team just rounding out. But the fact that he was able to give you these games with this amount of production, it's not something you should be, like, damn, Kevin Love had to do good so we can win. It's like, that's why you build a roster.
Yeah.
Is so guys can do this. Like, this is why you need it's a team game, people. It's not one guy. Nobody ever wins because one guy won him, like it's a team game, and his ability to just do his job specifically. And I don't know if you've ever heard the interview about Duncan Robinson talking about how Kevin Love literally single-handedly changed the entire energy of the locker room. Mm-hmm. It's deeper than just what he does on the court. It feels like the confidence he's able to instill into somebody like Duncan, who we talked about, who deals with imposter syndrome. He's talked about it several times. Just instilling confidence into all these guys, into Jaime, into Josh, into Caleb, who there was some concern for his knee, but man, he looks every bit as healthy. Yeah, he looks healthy. Hopefully that health can last, knock on wood. But the team is rounding out is my point. I know. I actually don't know how you. I mean, I'm pretty sure you'd like this guy because he's defense. But what are your thoughts on Haywood Highsmith? Because when this team is fully healthy, I think the motherfucker needs to play. Like, our defense has been so bad in the fourth quarter.
And that's you hit it right on what I was about to say. a lot of their fourth quarter issues are because Haywood Highsmith's not playing these fourth quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo,
He should be playing 12 minutes.
Like, Haywood Highsmith and Bam Adebayo, I put that defensive, Haywood High, I put that center power forward duo against anybody defensively.
Mm-hmm.
I put any offensive duo against them. I dare you to try to score. See how that works out for you.
And then you throw Jimmy into the wrench, and guys like Caleb, and it's like, damn.
Now, granted, Haywood Highsmith started the season shooting a lot better than he has lately. But when you're that kind of defender, it's just like you work around that.
I don't care. I hate
some around him.
Yeah, man. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate when people, the first thing they say is, yeah, he's good, but he can't really shoot like that. He's willing to shoot, which is a huge key. Mm-hmm. He's shown spurts in which he is a valuable shooter. Mm-hmm. And it's not like he just solely sits in the corner and that's all he does is shoot from the corner. We had it with PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker was a great corner shooter. Would you say PJ Tucker was a floor spacer? I would not say PJ Tucker was a floor spacer.
PJ Tucker not being a floor spacer lost him the series against Boston.
Exactly. And PJ Tucker shot over 40%, was I think his best 3-point shooting year ever. But I don't think he was a floor spacer. Highsmith, is he a floor spacer? Does he shoot as good as PJ Tucker? No, I think he spaces the floor a little better because most of his threes come from the wing. Yeah. And he is a way better. Like, he is one of the better players, like just sneaking into the dunker spot, curling back door, getting those little and he's a pretty good passer too. So it's like, it's not just the shooting. Like, yeah, the shooting is the icing on the cake sometimes, and you need that considering, Jimmy and Bam aren't as willing, like Jimmy specifically isn't shooting threes at the level that he probably should be to kind of help the spacing sometimes. But man, like the defensive versatility with those three in your lineup it shouldn't even be fucking questioned.
Yeah, and I feel like we can't talk about the Heat for this long, and also giving the Nuggets credit for their organization earlier in the episode, without talking about the organization itself. And so, just keeping in mind, right? You have Eric Spoelstra, who's been the best coach in the NBA for a long time. That's not even me being biased. It's just that just is what it is.
It's fact.
But when you understand also that the guy he reports to is one of the best coaches of all time, and Pat Riley, I feel like what goes under the radar with how this team is constructed, with it being, because it's either guys trying to fight into the league or guys with championship experience or guys they draft. That's what the Heat go after. Mm-hmm. They want people who have done it or who they can mold into being able to do it. And that all starts at the top. And so when the Dame trade didn't happen, I was like, you know what? Pat Riley came to Miami in 1995, and they've missed the playoffs like 6 times since then. I was 3 years old in 1995. No, matter of fact, he came in, I was born in the summer, so I was actually 2 years old.
I was born, so
I was 2 years old. I am 31 now. Mm-hmm. They've missed the playoffs like 6 times. And this is like, and I understand people got the destination stuff, but the beaches and whatever it like. Why isn't that the case for the Marlins? The Dolphins. So I watched the Dolphins my whole life before Mike McDaniel, and then after Mike McDaniel, and seeing like athletes want to go where they can win. Bingo. And the Heat strike out on stars way more than they get them. And so given the destination, the credit for. It's the organization. It's the organization. Pat Riley has been a winner as a player. He's been a winner as a coach. Like, you don't even consider the fact, like, he coached Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was the coach Magic Johnson wanted. Magic's first couple years, like, he was a guy Magic wanted. And Kareem, people don't really think about where Kareem was in his career. It was a whole lot of It wasn't that much different than it is now. Kareem can't win without an Oscar Robertson type player, whatever it is. Pat Riley came into the organization, they won a championship, but remember, they won that first championship. Kareem was hurt. And then they lost the next year, and then Pat Riley came in. And so from there, like, this is a historical figure in basketball. I don't think people really understand that sometimes because it's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to build this type of organization, and then you also got to understand, and I've shared this out on social media one time. I'll just do it before we go. Since 1995, the Heat have been a legitimately bad team. Not like missing the playoffs on the last day, because they've had that a couple times. But they've been a bad team twice. Once when Dwayne Wade injured his shoulder and was out for most of the year, and once when Alonzo Mourning almost fucking died.
Yep.
That's what it took for the Miami Heat to be a bad team since Pat Riley's been here. And so it's like, man, when I see the stuff in the offseason, like, oh, they struck out on the star, Pat Riley, leave him alone. He is who he is.
Yeah. You may not disagree with, I mean, you may not agree with everything he does, but I feel like, again, championship culture, man, it ruins people's credibility.
Yeah.
Like, if that's the case, why are we propping up Sam Presti? He hasn't won shit, but he gets propped up. Why? Because he makes trades and the team looks pretty on paper. No, man, he's a good GM. It is what it is. Some people are just, Danny Ainge is a good GM. He was in Boston. Say what you want. They made it far with him. Like, some of these people, man, like, it doesn't matter if you win a championship, in my opinion, to be qualified as good. It's just, man, like you said, Pat Riley deserves way more benefit of the doubt than I feel like people deserve or even want to give him. He's done this. It's not the first time he's done this. The team has been, I feel like people are spoiled. Go be a Marlins fan. It's fucking tragic. This is a basketball city. Like, it's been.
Look, if you from Miami, that might sound kind of crazy, but professional sports wise,
it's basketball.
No question.
Yeah, it was a football city back when, obviously the Dolphins' greatness and then UM, but like, since Pat Riley came here, it's been a basketball city more years than it's been a football city.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's the last thing I'll say.
and that whole tangent came from this Heat team is really good. And you may look at the roster and not see a Dame Lillard name or a Donovan Mitchell name or whatever it is, but they know what they're doing, and they're just now getting healthy again. And to be 16-12 with Tyler Hero missing 18 games, with Bam Adebayo missing the amount of games he's missed, real quick on him. I know we're going long. We're not doing Monday episodes the next 2 weeks, so this episode can be a little long. One more thing on Bam Adebayo before we go. Somebody posted a clip earlier this week, I think, of Anthony Davis, because they were making a comparison, and I stay away from player comparisons because they're really disingenuous most times on both ends. But there was a play where Anthony Davis was kind of just going from offensive player to offensive player. Great play. He fell for a pump fake, came back, recovered, blocked the shot. Amazing. But I've thought about, like, I've been watching Bam Adebayo for like 5-6 years. I don't think I've ever seen him fall for a pump fake. And when you're that level of a defender, like it's just, I see you trying to think now. When has Bam Adebayo ever fell for a pump fake?
I feel like he goes for them, but not in a way that he gets out of the play. If that makes any sense,
he'll contest, but his feet are still active. And so
exactly. He's one of one defensively, man.
Man. Look,
it's crazy. It's truly fucking ridiculous. If I'm being very, very honest, how good he is at guarding the perimeter for somebody his size. Is he the best rim protector? He is not the best rim protector.
Right.
Is he the best perimeter defender? He is not the best perimeter defender. But that's not what makes him. What makes him elite is his ability to switch, to play drop, to play at the level, to just shut out point guards for the last 7-8 minutes of the shot clock. Like the game against Minnesota, Anthony Edwards didn't score on him a single time. and he ISO'd him like 4 or 5 times in the first half. And it's just his ability to contain the ball handler for somebody that big. It should just like, man, I feel like he's going to be one of those players that never wins a defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be having a lot of fucking arguments with people saying other people who won defensive player of the years are better than him when they got like, if you watch them play, like you'd be dead fucking wrong, in my opinion. Like,
man, I can't wait for award season where I can give my thoughts on this stuff. But I do agree with you where, especially now, Bam's offense has gotten too good. People don't really even consider him. And I feel like Kawhi won, and like guys who are good at offense have won the award. But I feel like Bam was looked at as a defender, and now he's kind of more of an all-around player. He's just kind of going to get lost in the sauce. But as far as his defense goes, there are guys who guard 1 through 5, but shutting down 1 through 5 is very rare. First of all, guard 1 through 5, that's something that gets thrown around a whole lot. A lot of people who
and it's bullshit, man. Stop it.
They can't do it. But like
select players in the league.
Probably like you can probably count on one hand, maybe one hand and a couple of fingers, the guy throughout history who can guard 1 through 5, like legitimately. When it's like a Dennis Rodman, Ron Artest could do it. Draymond in his prime could do it, but not tough. Really point guards as well. But it's tough.
It's
and
tough.
Even still, like, and I know because I've mentioned Giannis within this category, but I don't know. Even like with Giannis, like as incredible as a defender he is, I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm not. If you're still listening and you try to argue with me, I don't have much of an argument for you as far as Giannis being a great defender. That's just common sense at this point. But even with him, there's as an offensive player, you want to kind of try to force him on the ball to take away his ability as a help defender, because as a help defender, he is deadly. On ball, you can probably kind of manage and exploit some stuff in the outer areas or whatever. There's nowhere on on defense that teams really try to put Bam anymore aside from away from the play. Whoever Bam is guarding goes to the other corner, and they treat Bam like a shutdown cornerback to where you see this corner's not getting as many interceptions or whatever anymore, or targets, and this is like what happened to him. It's like, yeah, no, they just don't throw to his side of the field anymore. And that's how Bam Adebayo gets treated now in most cases. And so there's not enough to say about his defense. It's just ridiculous and incredible. I don't think he's going to win the award at this point just because I feel like the ship is sailed, but I don't care anymore.
No, yeah, Bam makes up for a lot of we talked about the good. The Heat struggles guarding specifically ones. I felt like has been a struggle since last year, for a couple years now. They really don't have a good point of attack defender, or at least a shutdown one. I feel like, to be very, very frank, I feel like very few people in the league have a shutdown point of attack defender. I think that is a scarcity.
Point guards are too good.
Exactly. Point guards are too good. Screeners are too good. Spacing is too good. It's a lot of things. I do think, they can, some of the players they have there can stand to be a little better as health comes around. But Bam's responsibility on that end of the floor is, like you said, credit to his offense for getting better. He still has an insane responsibility defensively, and his offense is coming along. A lot better than I feel like people give him credit for. One of my biggest critiques for him was not getting to the free throw line. He's been doing that this year. Is he the most efficient around the rim, scoring the basketball? I don't think so. I don't think his touch is. Talked about Jokic. He's nowhere fucking near that on his touch. If he was, be careful. But no, man, the team itself, super balanced, super deep. I'm looking, they have 7 players averaging 10 points. And then Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry are over 9.5 each. That's 9 players almost averaging 10 points. That doesn't even include what Haywood Highsmith gives you defensively. It's the team is deep, man. Like for the first time, I feel like they go about 10, 12 people deep, and they've had some injuries. Drew Smith was playing earlier in the year, and I was not a proponent for him getting the contract he did. But I'm also one to be, I can kind of admit when I was wrong, and I thought he was playing very, very good basketball. So they've had, Jovic hasn't taken the step a lot of people anticipated, myself included. hasn't really been given a role. So it's just like there's still room for this team to improve.
Yeah.
And they still have certain depth pieces that aren't going to get a chance this year. But man, like I feel pretty confident saying it's heading in the right way, and I cannot wait to watch this team. Probably sometime in May.
Yeah, and I don't know why it surprises people every year, but this team is going to surprise people in the playoffs.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. At this point,
this team
3
specifically,
conference finals in 3 conference finals in 4 years. Like, at some point, you just respect it, but it hasn't happened yet. But hey, we'll see y'all in June. Is what it is. Thank you for tuning in to a very long episode of Playoff File, episode 7. So, like, if you're still here, I'm sure you are. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow my social media, KennySpenceNBA. Lou, give them yours.
It's at SaucyTakes, no spaces with the Z at the end of takes. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you need. You can find me Threads, I guess. People don't use it.
People keep following me on there. You can still do it. I'm never see it.
Yeah.
But that said, we're not doing a Christmas show, so Merry Christmas, and we will see y'all next Wednesday or Thursday.